Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Bullish on Business. And today we are really going to have a good time talking to Rachel. This is the show where we talk about building businesses with guts, heart, and zero interest in playing small. Today, I am seriously excited because we are talking with someone who is quietly building, and maybe not so quietly, building one of the most soulful, community-centered business models in Northern Michigan. My guest is Rachel Zemanek. Ooh, I probably botched that. Oh, I did good. The powerhouse founder of the Folded Leaf Foundation, Northern Michigan's first nonprofit independent bookstore and community hub that feels like a hug, a revolution that is really good book all rolled into one. Rachel was born in Northern Michigan, wandered the country, New York, Pennsylvania, California, Colorado, North Carolina, and then answered the call home in 2024 with a big, brave idea. Create a space where books, art, community, and true belonging all live under one roof. At the Folded Leaf, she's not just selling books, she is championing local emerging artists who don't always see themselves in big, intimidating galleries, designing events and experiences that bring people together in real life, and building giving right into the business model by building a youth literacy, which I'm super excited about, an empowerment program from every sale, donation, and add a girl. Before this chapter, Rachel worked as a paramedic and in other demanding roles that required calm in chaos, fast thinking, and deep empathy. Now she's channeled all of that into entrepreneurship, proving you can build a nonprofit business that's both financially real and wildly human. Today, we are going to unpack how she turned the dream of a bookstore into an actual business and eventually a nonprofit, the very real numbers and decisions behind a value-driven brick-and-mortar, what's working for growth in a small town market, and what other founders can steal from her playbook to build businesses that actually reflect what they believe in. Rachel, I am so pumped to have you here. Welcome to Bullish on Business.
Thank you so much, Rose. I'm so excited to be here. This has been in the works for quite a while, and I'm really just thrilled to talk about all things business and see what comes of it.
Absolutely. Well, we have a whole community behind you, and we love you, Rachel. I couldn't believe how Oops and the whole community really rallied when you went through your crisis about a year ago, and we brought all of our, arms and legs and brain work to bear, and because we truly love you, and that's what's awesome about Northern Michigan.
Yeah, I
So
definitely feel the love, that's for sure, especially
you
from our
are. I can
yeah.
see it every time I see you open your mouth. That oops, it's a outpouring of love. So let's get into these questions.
Yeah.
I'm really doing this moment. Like I'm really doing this finally. Let's start with that leap. There's a big difference between wouldn't it be cool if I had a bookstore and I'm signing a lease and wiring the money? What was the exact moment you knew? Nope, I'm not waiting anymore, not another minute. I'm doing this now.
Yeah, so I think there were like a couple of different moments that made up that feeling. The first one was a very early, snowy February day, and I was taking my dad back to his car because he couldn't get all the way home the day before because we got so much snow, and that was in February of 24. right? No, February of 25. Yes. February of 2025. And I dropped him off the car, and I just briefly saw a for lease sign in the window of this building. And I said, Dad, I'm going to turn around and I'm going to go look at this. I just want to see, what is this about? And the second that I plastered my face in that window, I saw everything. It was one of those things where you can just envision exactly where the shelves go, what books go where the couch is going to go, the fireplace, and where the checkout counter is. I just knew immediately, like, oh, this is the space. This is where I'm going to build the folded leaf. This is where it's going to be planted. And, I made a phone call later that day to the number on the poster, and 6 weeks later, on April 26th, I opened. But in between that, I think in between those 6 weeks, there was a couple of different moments where I found myself going, wow, I'm doing this. This is real. This is not an imagination, a dream anymore. And one of those was when I got the key to the building. And I sat down in this empty room with the key, and I took a picture of myself holding the key with the empty room in the background. And I look at that picture sometimes and think, yeah, that's where it started. And now this is where it is. And it's so amazing to look back on that journey and remember that moment thinking, yeah, this is a real thing. This is happening.
Fantastic. I'm getting chills because if you've ever had that moment of entrepreneurship and then you pinch yourself, what? So let's take you back even further. Paramedic skills in the business arena. You've been a paramedic. That's really high stakes, high pressure. How has that background turned what you're doing now? What kind of a superpower did that give you?
I think it gave me a couple of different superpowers. The first superpower is the ability to truly understand what people are looking for. Because when you look for a book, you're not just looking for a title, you're looking for a redirection in your life. Every story has so much power that I really truly believe that you don't choose the book chooses you for that exact moment in your life and what you need. So I think that is one of the superpowers I got, is just understanding people and what they truly want. Because you can have someone in the back of an ambulance who, called you at 2 a.m. because they couldn't breathe, but then you get them in the back of the ambulance and put them on, 2 liters of oxygen, which is not very much. And all of a sudden they're better because all they wanted was someone to talk to because they were lonely. Mm. Maybe there is some underlying illness there, but at the end of the day, all people really want is true connection. Mm-hmm. And I think I learned that as a paramedic, and that translates really well into what I do now, because this place is all about connection and community.
Mm-hmm. That truly is a superpower. I got a vibe that you are very intuitive.
I definitely am. I would say I am very empathetic, and that translates into being a pretty intuitive person with what people really need and want in their lives. And I love being able to provide a space that really captures that for the majority of people.
Awesome. Well, let's go into this business model from the outside. The Folded Leaf looks like this beautiful mashup of books, art, community, and mental health advocacy. On the inside, it still has the function as a business. How did you translate your personal values, care, belonging, into actual structures, pricing, and decisions? I see you
Yeah.
in every nook and corner. How did you do that? Because when I walk through your shop, I see you. How did you do that?
I tell people quite often that the folded leaf is an outward expression of my innermost love and values. And I want people to feel just so loved when they walk through the shop. And even just passing by, I want them to get that warmth in their chest from being here. But as far as the business part of it, when I started out, I had no idea what I was doing. I had never worked in retail. I had never owned and operated a business, let alone a successful one. But I had a lot of people around me to pull from. So my dad had his own business for a long time, very successful. I've got amazing friends who are entrepreneurs. My brother is very successful in his own business life. And I really leaned on the people around me to say, hey, I've never done this before. What did you do when you were in this situation? Even if it was a completely different business model, or a different, like, I'm going to be booky here and say a different genre of business. They still have really great things to offer. So when I started out, you don't know what you don't know. And I think it's so important for people to recognize that in themselves when they're starting out and just be really humble. Don't go into anything thinking that, oh, well, I can figure it out. I just know everything. I can just Google it or chat GPT. Man, there's nothing like the human connection and learning lessons in real time to humble you and to make you into a better business person.
Excellent. Yes, I agree with you. And the thing that I will mention about your retail store in the, like I brought up and you emphasized, is that it's an outpouring of who you are, is that I believe that Common Ground and that location on 8th Street in Traverse City, having you at the doorway of this establishment really has brought like an umbrella of caring and love as you walk through those doors. I feel a completely different vibe. Before it was always goodness, always lots of goodness, but now it's so awesome to walk in. And if you're a book lover and a coffee or a tea lover, you just feel like you're in somebody's like warm home. And I appreciate that so much.
Absolutely. I'm so glad that you feel like that. And I've had a lot of people say something similar. And it's just really, it's great to feel appreciated and wanted in this space. And, I appreciate every single person that comes in here too. Even if they don't stop in and they just say hi as they're walking by, it's still nice to have that touch point of human connection in a super busy world.
Well, even when I drive by, I always glance into your windows and say, yes, yes, she's still there. So this is not the fun topic, but I'm going there. Let's talk about money, because it really does matter. Bookstores are not exactly known for juicy margins, unless you're Jeff Bezos, right?
Yeah.
What were some of the key money decisions? Multiple revenue streams, sounds like, events, native plants, art. What helps you move this from an adorable idea to truly sustainable? And how can we help you with that?
Yeah. So at first, I definitely did it wrong at first. And that's okay. I want any entrepreneur to know that it's okay to do something wrong at first, as long as you learn from it. So what I did is I ordered so many copies of every title that I wanted to sell in the store. I would order, 10, 12 of each of the titles. And then I would get to the end of a month and say, okay, great, I sold one or two titles, but now what do I do with all of this back stock? So what I did is I went through everything and I sent back my overstock, and that helped a lot. And now I really only order like anywhere from 2 to 5 titles, or 2 to 5 copies of each title, depending on their popularity, depending on what people are more interested in, the genres that are spiking, the authors that are doing really well. Um, so that's what has helped me a lot, is learning from my mistakes as far as what to order and what people like. Because I can't just order all the books that I would read, even though I do that quite often.
Mhm.
I also have to order books that I wouldn't necessarily be interested in, but I know that somebody would be. So that is really cool to kind of understand what people want in that capacity too. Uh, Multiple revenue streams has been huge. In this new location here on 8th Street, having the coffee and tea has been a massive help. There's going to be hopefully some more development on that front that I'll be able to announce in the next month or so, but not quite yet. So stay tuned for updates on some fun, exciting things happening here. But um, the art and the coffee and the tea and the books, with new and used, there's just so many different things in each of those categories that can be done. One thing that I found that I think every bookstore has to do is the events. Having events and gatherings is super, super important. In Cedar, that was a little bit, I would say, easier in some regards and harder in others. It's a bigger space. We had a stage where we had live music twice a week. It was really, really special and amazing. But it was also in Cedar, which is a small town. It's got less than 100 people on its docket, and it's about 30 minutes away from Traverse City. So I had to really be creative out there with what I was doing, and be a space that held events and community gatherings that no one else in the county had. And it took off. It was awesome. And here, I can be really, really intentional and pointed with my events. I don't have a big space. In Cedar, I had 1,100 square feet. In Traverse City, I have 680. So it is a staggering difference. And but the events that I have in this location, I would say are more successful than they were out in Cedar because of the population. Not necessarily the music. The music was super popular in Cedar. That was wonderful, but that's a completely separate thing because I just don't have the space to do that here. I'm sure it would be successful here if I had that space too.
Truly, truly. So when I said, how can we help you? I was thinking about some of your new things that you're doing for the not-for-profit.
Yeah, absolutely. So the nonprofit's really, really neat. It's a way for books and community to come together in a really, really meaningful and positive way. So the programs that I'm building with the help of the board of directors and really the community telling me what they want, a lot of them are youth focused. So what we do, there's a youth storytelling pathway that we built. And the first step in that is called the Next Chapter Mentor Network. The Next Chapter Mentor Network is where we pair an adult mentor, someone 18 and over, with a high school student, so grades 9 through 12. And they go through a 5 to 8 week mentorship curriculum, where they read The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho, and
I
then
see it
they learn
behind you.
right here, and then they learn things like calm and kind communication, conflict management resolution, how to be a safe space for others, how to communicate in a way that is effective and positive and gives good feedback. So that's the Next Chapter Mentor Network. And in order to participate in the next chapter of your storytelling pathway, you have, as a high schooler, must complete that mentorship network portion. In order to be a mentor to elementary or middle schoolers for the Literacy Promise Project. So the Literacy Promise Project is where we partner a high schooler with a middle or elementary schooler, and they together over a 1 to 3 month period read a book from a curated list of banned, challenged, and classic books. And then they come up with a community improvement project based on the themes or lessons in that book. And it can be anything. They can do anything from a beach cleanup to building trails to doing a fundraiser for an organization like Up North Pride to raise money to replace the signs that get taken down in some people's yards. You know, there's a lot of different ways that they can give back based on those themes and lessons from a book. And the entire time they are involved in that program, the Literacy Promise Project, they will have access to basic life essentials. So what do I mean by that? Basic life essentials are things like toothbrushes, toothpaste, shampoo and conditioner, socks, underwear, feminine hygiene products, condoms, a brush, deodorant, maybe a sleeping bag, or a number to a plumber because something is broken at home and mom and dad can't afford to fix it. You know, there are so many cool ways and organizations that do work like that. And I just am going to be a conduit to be able to supply those needs for our participants. So that's the Literacy Promise Project, which is really awesome.
So do you have a website where we can provide money to you to do that?
I do. So the
We'll go
website
ahead
is
and put it in the show notes if you give it to me.
perfect. Yep, thefoldedleafnomai.com. And then you can find all of the information on there. And we're always accepting book donations for the Literacy Promise Project. There is a wish list on the website, so check that out for sure. And then the last part of the youth storytelling pathway is the open book project. And that is where our students will have the option, the middle and high school students will have the option to participate in a writing workshop that's about 6 to 8 weeks. And towards the end of the project, they are going to learn how to self-publish. And then we're going to have a culminating party to launch the new anthology from all of their work. And they can choose to publish anonymously. They can do their name. They can do a pen name. Whatever they really want to do, they can. Poetry, storytelling, whatever it may be, as long as it has words. And they are then going to feel that full circle power of books and what it can do to change the way that you see the world, the way you interact with people, and how you step into being a leader in your community.
How do, if I had a child I wanted to participate, how do they apply to this program?
Absolutely. So there is information on that on the website. There's just a form that you would fill out. And then once you fill out the form, you sit down with me and another board member. We talk through what all of the programs do and look like, and then decide, you know, do you want to start in this cohort? Do you want to, put it off? The other cool thing is that the students that participate in the mentorship network and the Literacy Promise Project get some volunteer hours, because this is a nonprofit. They are providing a service, especially during the Literacy Promise Project. They are mentoring younger kids, so they get some community service hours for that as well, which is a huge benefit. And happy to write college recommendation letters, things like that for our participants as well.
Oh, yeah, this is huge. Well, let's talk about art. The strategy behind artist curation. You intentionally feature artists who may not feel ready for big galleries yet. You know, that's really generous. but it's also strategic. How do you decide who and what fits the folded leaf? And what's your inner checklist when you say, yes, this belongs here?
We have a lot of artists come in and say, hey, would you want to carry this? Would you want to carry that? And I never say no right away. I always say, you know what, I would love to see your work. Do you have a website? Do you have Instagram, Facebook? Like, would you be willing to bring something in to show me? And depending on what they do, sometimes they're like, that's too much work. I don't want to do that. That's okay. That's fine. But the ones who do follow through with that, we sit down or we email back and forth and say, like, this is what the folded leaf is about. And this is the vibe we're going for, walking into someone's living room and really feeling super at home. And when artists realize what the vibe of this place is, I don't have to do a whole lot of cherry picking. The right artists just find their way here. And it's so, so cool to have people come in who are like, I work on zines and I don't put them anywhere else, but, would you consider having some here? Sure, absolutely. Or one of my favorite kind of, I'll say, success stories is my friend Meg Bennett. She's an amazing just ceramic pottery artist. And we had the Snuggery Festival in the Cedar location last year. And she had a booth there, and we had been selling some of her work in the shop. And all of that came about because she brought in a tiny little pottery book that she did. And now we sell them here. But when she brought that in, I was like, what is this? This is amazing. Like, how much do you sell these for? Where do you sell them? What are you doing? And she's like, oh, I just do this for fun. And I told her, I was like, Meg, I want your work in my shop. Bring me whatever you have.
Wow.
And she did. And then she did the market. And now she's in several locations in Traverse City and Leelanau. And I'm just so proud of her for getting out of her comfort zone and like finding that jumping off point and trusting me to, just let her fly. So I love when I get to have artists who don't feel super confident in what they do because it's just for fun. And then once they see their products selling, they're like, oh, I can do this. Yeah, absolutely. Yes, you can. If I can open a bookstore, you can sell your art.
Awesome. Yeah, that's very inspiring. So let's go behind the scenes. The not so Instagrammable stuff. Let's pull back the curtain. What's one part of running the folded leaf that people totally romanticize, but in real life it's messy, exhausting, and way harder than anyone thinks?
Bookkeeping.
I hate it.
Bookkeeping for sure. I can't tell you how many books and movies I've read and seen that, you see the person, it's 2 a.m. and they've got their coffee and they're just buzzing away at their books. And I'm like, oh, that looks, you romanticize it. But then when it's 2 a.m. in your life and you're trying to reconcile a bank account or a credit card statement and you cannot find that one transaction and you can't close your books until you do, and you've been looking for it for like a week, it's not fun. It's not, you can't romanticize that. There's nothing romantic about pulling your hair out.
That's right. Well, I give you credit because you know what I would do? Forget about it. And that got me in trouble and gets me into trouble still, but we are who we are, right?
Mm-hmm, that's right.
What's actually driving growth? You have, in my eyes, have done so much in such a short amount of time. You're in a smaller market, but you're building something that's sticky. I know you know what I mean by that. What has actually moved the needle for you so far? You had that really like you were ripped out of your first location, and that did
Uh-oh, I lost you. Oh no. Oh, can you hear me? There you
Yeah,
are.
yeah, I hear you. Did you hear
That
my
was weird.
question?
No, I didn't. I'm sorry. Repeat it.
Okay, well, my question is really about what's driving your growth. I show local press. Where do you see the traction, not just likes?
I think what's driving the growth is just being myself, honestly. Because this business and this nonprofit is such an outward facing of of myself and my innermost love. I just have to continue to build the business in a really, really genuine and human way where, um, yeah, of course, I am checking likes and followers and open rates on our newsletters, but I'm also talking to people and I am meeting people where they are in this space and in um, this position of really being involved in the community in a way that is brings a bit of calm and quiet, but also is so supportive and for a lot of people can be really regenerative. So I think what is driving growth is just continuing to stay true to the mission and the vision of what the Folded Leaf was, is, and will continue to be.
To that point, will you tell us how you came up with that great name?
Yeah, absolutely. So the Folded Leaf is a way that I kind of combined my love of nature and books because I am the ultimate book sinner and I fold my pages over to mark where I am
Oh,
stopped. And so, I did that one day and just thought to myself, well, just folding down a leaf because that's where our books come from. They come from trees. And so it was definitely a combination of my love of nature and books. And then,
that's so clever.
yeah, you're just leafing through pages. So you fold the leaf. It just for me was that moment I was like, yeah,
That
that's
is awesome. Very, very clever. Well, let's give a pep talk to the scared but serious founder out there who's looking, maybe a young woman or a lady who wants to do something, someone who's listening right now who has a value driven business like you do, has an idea in their heart, a cafe, a studio, and they're really scared to sign that rent contract and that risk that goes with it, and all the what ifs that go on in your brain, and that negative Nancy that we all have. From where you stand today, what would you say, and be brutally honest to give them a message?
if I'm going to be brutally honest with them, I would say do it scared. Stop waiting for the right moment. Have a support system, not just for the literal business growth and development, like funds, like that is very important, obviously, to have the funds to do your business. But surround yourself with the right people who are going to fill up your cup, who are going to check on you and see the changes when things get hard and say, maybe you need to take a break, or hey, let me run the shop for a day and you just go take a nap or something. Have a support system for your financials, have a support system for your soul. That's what I would say, because if I didn't have the support system that I have on both of those fronts, I would not be in business still. There's absolutely no way. Um, and I'm just really fortunate to have that. So just make sure you surround yourself with the right kind of funding. Make sure that you're funding your passion and make sure you're funding your soul.
Fantastic. Wow, what a great podcast. I'm so happy that we finally got to do this.
Yeah, me
One of
too.
the things Rachel, thank you so much for joining us today. One of the things that really stands out about your story is that you didn't build the folded leaf simply to open another bookstore, obviously. You built it to create connection. You took years of serving people in moments of crisis with a paramedic and transformed that same compassion into a business that serves people in a completely, totally different way. But it's so meaningful. I think that's a lesson for every entrepreneur who's tuning in today, whether you're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, wherever you're coming in from, whether you're selling a book, software, consulting, you're selling coffee, people remember how you make them feel. And I know that that's one of the things that you brought up is your authenticity, and you bring that to the office or to the bookstore every day. For everyone listening, if you're anywhere near Traverse City, Michigan and 8th Street, stop into the Folded Leaf. Go ahead and buy a book. Have a cup of tea or coffee. Hang out with Rachel. Attend an event, especially if you're a local artist. See if you feel the vibe when you get in the room. Support an independent business. Think about those kids and literacy, and think about the community that you live in. And if you're not local, go to Rachel online, because businesses like hers deserves to be celebrated. So if today's conversation reminded you of what business can still be built with purpose, heart, and profitability, do us a favor, go ahead and like this episode. And before I wrap it all up, I want to give Rachel a moment if she'd like to say any final words before we sign off.
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, thank you so much, Rose, for having me. This is so much fun, and I'm just really grateful for the opportunity to spread the word and the mission of the Folded Leaf Foundation. One thing I really want people to understand is that building a business is not for you. It's for your community. And if your business does not improve your community, then maybe you should rethink what the meaning of it is. The reason I say that is because we live in such a divided time right now, and we all need to come together and be positive and share our differences in a way that helps us all grow and be better people. I created the Folded Leaf because it's exactly what I needed as a kid. And it's going to continue to be what others needed or do need as they grow. And the last thing I want to say is, the Folded Leaf Foundation is only possible through our donors, our sponsors, our customers, our repeat customers. And I just want to thank every single person that has come into the doors, especially Jeff Haas and his team, my parents, Mark and Peggy, my brother who laid on the floor with me the day before opening as I absolutely cried my eyes out, and my best friend, Kimberly Robinson, who I could definitely not have done this without. So thank you again, Rose, for having me.
Well, how important to really bring forward, especially family and your friends. That's my X. That's where I put the X in my life too. Yeah. So great. Well, until next time, guys, keep building, keep believing, keep serving, and as always, stay bullish. Goodbye.